Expanding Your Social Media Presence. I'm Oryx Cohen, and I'll be your moderator. I'm the Technical Assistance Center Director for the National Empowerment Center. This webinar is brought to you by the National Empowerment Center and funded in part by SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. So we are very excited to have this webinar today with a bunch of folks from Peers, Peers Envisioning and Engaging in Recovery Services. Peers is one of the leading organizations, one of the leading peer-run organizations in the country when it comes to social media and technology. And so we're very pleased to have a few representatives to talk about social media today. And I'll give you their bios in a second. This webinar will be recorded and is being recorded and will be available at the National Empowerment Center website, which is www.power2u.org, the number 2, the letter U, power2u.org/information-technology. This webinar is a continuation of our series and is a little bit more advanced. And so if you're finding that you also need an introduction to social media, we have a recorded webinar already on that site that you're welcome to take a look at. So want to draw your attention that there is a questions function on your screen, and at any time during the webinar you can ask a question, and towards the end we'll have a question and answer session. You can also ask a question verbally via the hand raise function, and we will take questions in the order that they're received. So our plan is to have the presentation go until about 2 o'clock Eastern time, and then have about 15 minutes for questions and answers. And we're very excited to have a Twitter chat for people new or more experienced to Twitter. We're going to have a Twitter chat at the end of this from about 2:15 to 2:30 Eastern, and the presenters will give you more detailed instructions in terms of how to get involved with that. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the speakers today from Peers. And first we're going to have Shannon Elliott, who's the Communications Manager. And as the Communications Manager, Shannon Elliott brings 10 years of communications experience to Peers. She's a veteran of print, online, and television media, and she is excited to use her experiences to lead and promote Peers county, state, and national projects, including work with the Alameda County Social Inclusion Campaign, in the Entertainment Industries Council, Cal MHSA, and SAMHSA. She serves as a host and producer of Peers cable access show Mental Health Matters, producer of the Peers documentary Shine, and was the recipient of the 2012 POCC Media Award. And then we also have Janae Darden, who's the web content and PR specialist for Peers. An Oakland native, Janae learned about Peers during a social inclusion campaign event addressing the stigma of mental health in the African American community. Janae holds a master's degree in journalism from the University of Southern California and has served as a reporter and NPR news producer in Los Angeles, and also reported for the Marketplace Money radio show, Teaching Tolerance magazine, TheRoot.com, and Huffington Post. Now, as a staff member, Janae works on all things relating to Peers Media, including blogging, podcasting, and management of the Media Watch volunteer program. We also have Sherman Park, who is the video production specialist for Peers. Video production specialist Sherman Park brings his knowledge and experience of video production, post-production, and audio to the Peers Media and Marketing team. Prior to coming to Peers, Sherman volunteered for 3 years in Italy, where he had the opportunity to work with people experiencing mental health issues. From disenfranchised groups to young adults with substance abuse problems, Sherman helped teach, mentor, and empower these individuals through various outreach programs. And last but not least, we have Kelechi Abozo, who's the statewide project coordinator for Peers. And as the statewide project coordinator, Kelechi Abozo is the latest addition to the Peers staff. Kelechi works to implement, coordinate, and track the Dignity, Social Inclusion, and Stigma Elimination Grant through community outreach and identifying promising practices programs throughout the state. Kelechi holds a degree in journalism from SUNY Purchase and was the first student reporter to have an op-ed piece published in the New York Times. So it is with great pleasure that I turn this over to the Peers team. So Shannon, take it away.
Thank you so much, Oryx and Leah, and to the National Empowerment Center for having us. And thank you so much to those of you who will spend the next hour to an hour and a half with us today learning a little bit more about social media. So just to recap, my name is Shannon, and I'm the Communications Manager here at Peers. And who we are, basically, it's probably a lot of you haven't heard of Peers before. We're basically a consumer-run mental health organization here in Oakland, California. And we are extremely lucky in that we get funding at various levels, county, state, and otherwise, to do media projects related to mental health, really to promote people's stories, to promote education. We're doing things a lot of people haven't gotten opportunities to do, and we're really lucky. We want to share that with you. One of our big things is we promote social inclusion and anti-stigma campaigns in a variety of settings. And our team, you know, Oryx was sharing our bios. We're lucky in that we have a really diverse media team, and we all bring a little something different to the table, which really informs our overall strategy. So we do everything from graphic design, web and print work, copywriting, blogging, which Janae is going to talk about a little bit later, video, podcasting, and social media. So if you have any questions as to how any of those things relate together during the course of our presentation, please feel free to make a note and hit us up at the end. So what we're going to do today, we always tell people we could talk their ears off for 8 hours. We're not going to do that, so don't worry. But we're going to start with a brief overview of what makes an effective website. And we do realize this is a presentation on social media, but it's really important when you're informing your overall social media strategy to consider your web efforts and how they play a role in that, because they really are very, very linked and intertwined. Then we're going to talk about some of the major social media platforms and how to use them. If you're a little bit more advanced, we'll do a quick review in case you're not on them every day all the time. And, you know, if you're a little bit more beginner and you kind of want to see what they're about, there'll be an opportunity for that as well when we review them. Then we're going to talk a little bit about our examples and case studies of how we've used these things for Peers. And hopefully you can take some of what we've done and apply it to your own organizations, because we all work with different populations. We all work in different settings and have different goals. So hopefully what we share with you will just give you a few ideas and lead you to create strategies of your own. And then at the end, like Oryx said, we'll have some questions and do a little Twitter chat so you guys can implement what you learned right on the spot, and we'll be here to help you. So that's our plan for today. Great. So we'll start with websites. And this is a great quote that I recently found by the CEO of PSI.net. I'm not familiar with that particular company, but it basically says, almost overnight, the internet's gone from a technical wonder to a business must. This was in Wired for Profit magazine, and you'll notice the date on this was January 1996. So it was almost 20 years ago. And I bring this up because I would say in general, nonprofit organizations are kind of lagging a bit behind the times when it comes to technology, when it comes to websites. We really can't stress the importance enough of having an updated website and having something that looks modern and clean, because it really is the first impression that a lot of your community has of you. If they don't see you in person and they Google you, Kelechi's going to talk a little bit later. You know, as soon as you introduce yourself to someone on the street, the first thing they do is Google you, and then, you know, if you have a web presence, that's the first impression they're going to make. So it really is really important to have an updated and effective website. So what makes an effective website? I was very proud of myself because in this presentation I only limited myself to one cat comic, and as my coworkers will tell you, that's actually no small feat. But the internet actually has more uses than just cat photos and cat cartoons. So to make an effective website for your organization, for you personally, what have you, there are a few things you really, really, really want to keep in mind, and that are very important. First of all, you really want to have a strong and clear message. So for instance, for peers, when people come to our website, we want them to know instantly who we are, what we're about, the kind of work we do, and kind of just get that feeling that's not even in words. Also the visual messages as well, like really make a connection with us at the very beginning. And if you don't have that strong and clear message and people have to dig and find out who you are and what you're about, it's very, very likely they're not going to stick around and they're going to click out pretty quickly. So it's really important that that strong and clear message is right there from the very beginning. Likewise, easy navigation on your website is extremely important. If you want people to follow you on social media, you should have your social media icons in a very accessible, visible place. They should not be buried, 6 pages deep in your website. For the things that are important to you that you want people to click on, it should be up front and center and very easy. And again, because going back to that, I'm not sure what the statistic is, but I think the average person is on the average website much less than a minute, if not 30 seconds. So they're not, if you don't capture them instantly and make it easy for the user, they're going to peace out very quickly. The third one is a really important point and something that all of us will probably hit home through our presentations, and that is content. So what do you offer the user of your website? Why are they coming, and can they find the information easily? So what we do at Peers, I mentioned briefly in the intro, we don't only have information about our organization on our website, but we also provide the community with something actually useful. So Janae hosts a wonderful podcast called Mental Health and Wellness Radio that is released monthly, and it's a bunch of interviews with people throughout the country on various topics related to mental health and wellness. We have a video series called Stories of Recovery that shares people's personal stories of recovery, providing inspiration and hope to all kinds of members of the community. We have a talk show called Mental Health Matters that is a 30-minute talk show that interviews people throughout California about different things on mental health that is really educational. So we're actually providing knowledge, we're providing information, we're providing really useful stuff for these folks to take away. And when your content is good, that's when people keep coming back to your website. That's why they want to keep coming back, because they're getting something. Clean design, another very important thing. You want to look clean, usually indicates professional. You don't want it too cluttered because people get distracted and it takes even longer for folks to find things, again, resulting in them not spending too much time on your site and not wanting to get bogged down. Make sure your website accurately reflects who you are. When you go to Peers, we're positive, we're sunny, we're optimistic people. You don't want to go there and get sort of a downer vibe or feel that you're not supported or feel like it's not a welcoming place. You want your visuals to accurately represent who you are. Make sure you update it frequently as well. If you got a new major grant, that should be reflected on your website. If you moved offices 6 months ago, it should not still have your old address on there. It's really, really critical that your website is current and up to date, not only for the community you work with, but also when you're applying for grants and you're telling funders, potential funders or potential grant evaluators, learn more about us on our website. Yes, they do actually go to your website and check and make sure you are who you say you are to learn more about you. So please, please make sure you update your websites frequently. And of course, kitties are optional. That's a case-by-case basis. Very briefly, probably most of you guys already have websites since most of this audience is probably somewhat tech-savvy already. But in case you don't, or in case you do have one and you're looking to upgrade and you sort of want to take it to the next step, these are a couple of really, really great resources, very inexpensive to help you get started. WordPress is a great platform that is very easy to use, that has a lot of fantastic templates that you can get either free or at a pretty cheap price, under $100, that you can manipulate and play with. So check that out if you're interested. And lynda.com is a wonderful, 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 I cannot underscore it enough, online training site. So basically, if you want to learn more about web design, coding, Adobe software, any of that stuff, social media even, it's very much sort of a do-it-yourself website. So for a low monthly fee, I think something like $25, you have unlimited access to all their trainings, and it's really fantastic, and I highly recommend it. Okay, now we're on to the good stuff and why you're all here, and that's social media. So just a few social media platforms, and there's many, many more than these, but these are kind of the big ones. And you probably all know them and recognize them. On the top row, we have Facebook, followed by Pinterest, followed by Twitter. And then on the bottom row, we have YouTube, followed by Instagram. And then that far one on the bottom right is actually I guess it's kind of a more generic symbol, but that actually represents podcasting. So the first one we'll talk about is Facebook, and that's probably, realistically the one that the most people are going to be familiar with. As of, I think, last year or this year, there's over 1.1 billion with a B users. And I think, if the population of Earth is, 6 billion or something like that, that's 1 out of every 6 people has a Facebook account. That's pretty mind-boggling. So it's definitely a useful medium. It's really fantastic for engaging and connecting with audiences, sharing news, and doing contests to engage your users. Another plus is that you can customize and control your content and your image. So on the right here, it's just a screenshot of the peers page or what I can manage to fit into it. You can customize both your profile photo, which is the little square in the left, which has the peers logo. And then you can have something called a cover image, which is where you can display, a larger photo or image of some sort and be the kind of the banner image of your Facebook page when people come to find you. And that's the image of our staff. So you do have some customization options, which are really nice to personalize it and make it you. And sort of the typical measure and interaction mode, if you will, is that users use likes and comments. The likes and comments are the really big things for Facebook. So how can your org use it? And some of these things are probably more obvious, but some are actually not a lot of people know. So one really excellent thing, and probably more commonly known way to use Facebook, is to announce upcoming meetings or events. So if you have people who are routinely following you in the community, and it's probably more effective actually for your Facebook followers to be, I would say, in your immediate community as opposed to nationally or something like that when advertising events, because the wonderful folks at National Empowerment Center follow us, but they're probably not going to be coming to our weekly wrap groups. So just something to keep in mind. But it's great for announcing upcoming meetings or events as reminders. It's also a really fantastic place to post photos from an event that you host either while you're in the moment, so live Facebooking, live tweeting, or even after the fact. People love pictures. You could write the most inspiring, profound, personal story with a link to your blog. It might get 5 likes. If you post photos from an event, it will get 20 likes in the first hour. People are very visual, and people don't always have time to read in the moment, but they will always look at photos. So that's just something to keep in mind. Likewise, you can post videos of interviews, events that you do if you want to take some videos from your events. It's a great way to engage people who maybe couldn't make the event, and they could still feel like they were there. Sharing inspirational quotes related to your mission is actually another great one. Janae was just recently, well, not that recently, maybe in the last 6 months to a year, was kind of stuck on posting content for a while and was kind of, blocked, if you will. And she thought, hey, what if I do a wellness word of the day to engage people and give them hope and inspiration and see how that goes? And it was actually quite successful, and she can talk about that a little bit later, but just it doesn't have to be complicated. Just making sure that you engage your audience on a routine and consistent basis with positivity can really go a long way. You can also share relevant news items related to your field. So maybe it's not your organization, but maybe your organization is advocating for or against a certain piece of mental health legislation, and you need to really rally the troops and get the word out there. That's another great way to do it. Giving a shout out to current allies and forming new relationships. This is a great one because we always want to form new relationships for our cause, both locally, statewide, and really throughout the country as well, and we can't be everywhere at once. So it's really great to reach out to other organizations that might share your same mission or share the same work as you, and just introduce yourselves, online and build a relationship from there. Social media should never be seen as replacing face-to-face interaction because face-to-face is always preferable. But if you can't do it or as a supplement to it, it's a really, really good way to find like-minded people and make new friends. And lastly, this one's pretty cool, and it's not used very often, but you can create a poll to capture your audience's thoughts and opinions. So just to keep them engaged, it can be really fun to, maybe ask like, what wellness tool are you going to use this weekend, or what did you think of last year's alternatives conference, or something like that, just to keep people engaged. Or, you know, if you're legitimately facing a difficult decision at your organization and you want to get some community feedback and community input, you know, maybe you have a pot of money you're not sure how to spend on a community program, maybe asking the community what they would use and how they would use it and what they'd show up to could be a really, really useful way to use this Facebook tool. And best practices. So there are some things you want to keep in mind when using Facebook, and I don't think a whole bunch of people actually know these, so it's good to review. For Facebook, you want to be sure you use a conversational tone. So this is social media. It's not an academic paper. It's not something you're submitting to university or you know, an employer or resume. Make it conversational, make it casual, make it approachable. You also want to share breaking news updates or exciting announcements. You don't really want to share news from a week ago, a couple of weeks ago. Social media is very quick. It's very up to date, so make sure that your content is also up to date. Start conversations by asking questions and responding to your users. And make sure, I cannot highlight this enough, make sure to always respond to comments by your users. There's nothing worse than starting a social media profile or Facebook page and saying, okay, we're going to do this, and then nobody maintains it, it's left there, it's never used. That actually can damage your reputation, and then you're not really going to get a second chance. So if you make the commitment to go the route of social media, make sure that you have someone who's constantly, I mean, really daily, checking comments, making sure you're engaging with your audience, because then they feel like they're being heard and they're a part of your work as well. Like I mentioned earlier, stories with photos and videos are hugely popular. They grab users' attention a lot more and not just a little more. Photos receive 50% more likes than non-photo posts. So even if you're linking out to an article somewhere else or you're linking to something that's more verbal, make sure you put a photo with it. Make sure you include a visual thumbnail because pictures are what gets people's attention. Which is the next point, use engaging thumbnails for linked stories. And for tracking, this is really, really good, using page insights. So you can see what kind of posts get the most likes, get the most comments. You can basically see what's working and what isn't, and what's popular and what isn't. And I have definitely been surprised in more than one instance in posts that I thought were going to be hugely popular, and maybe they got 2 likes, and things that I thought maybe were not even posting were a complete hit. So be sure to check in and see, you know, evaluate yourself, evaluate your measures, see if you need to change anything. And it's also really excellent if for some reason you need to report your activity to your funder and to show your funder that, hey, this is working, you know, your money is being well spent. It's a really, really good way to do that as well. So just some things to keep in mind. With that, I will turn it over to Janae for
All right. So, I know everybody wants to know about Twitter. Let's see. It's not advancing. My slides are not advancing. Shannon, can you make sure you put me on as in control so I can advance the slides because it's not working?
You're good? You're good now, Janae.
Okay, hold on. It's still not.
Yeah, just as fine.
Okay. So what is Twitter? Basically, it's a social networking service that allows users to send and retweets, which you guys probably know about that as well. And I know some of the intimidation behind Twitter is that there's so much to say and you only have 140 characters to say it, but if you follow the news, you'll see that those 140 characters have been very powerful. They've gotten celebrities in trouble. People have used it for political advocacy, especially we've seen more recently, like in the Middle East, and people are just using it just to speak their mind, their voice. And you can use it. You can use it with your phone. You can use it with your tablet, desktop, with your laptop computers. Most people actually use it on their mobile devices. So about 75% of users use Twitter on their devices, which makes sense because if you're using it on your phone, it's almost kind of like texting. It's almost like sending a short text. There are 230 million active Twitter users, and an average of 500 million tweets are tweeted daily. Now, the interesting thing is that Facebook, so there's different age demographics. So now Facebook and Twitter are considered more for an older crowd now. So probably I would say Facebook is about 30s, 40s and up, and Twitter is like mid 20s and up. And so the younger generation, more teens are on Instagram, and we'll briefly go over Instagram a little later. So things to know. So you might have heard this term called a Twitter handle. So it's maybe somebody you meet that, you tell them you're on Twitter and they're like, what's your Twitter handle? And so when they're asking you what's your Twitter handle, which is hard to pronounce when you say it fast, when they're asking you that, they want to know basically like what's the name of your Twitter page? What's your username of your Twitter page, your Twitter account? So for peers, for example, our Twitter handle is peers.org. Okay, so basically when you go onto your mobile device or your phone or whatever or your computer, you can just do a search. You can do @peers.org or you can do peers.org and search for the Twitter handle to come up, and then it'll direct you to the page. And also too, if you maybe don't want to do it that way, you want to actually type in the actual web address. So usually the Twitter handle is, or the Twitter web address is www.twitter.com/ whatever the Twitter handle is. So for us, it would be twitter.com/peers.org, or it could be twitter.com/Fox News. If their Twitter handle is @Fox News. So that's how you incorporate it when you're actually typing out the actual web address. Okay, so things to know. You probably also too heard of this is the hashtag. So for those back in the day who remember the days of paging, right? Using a pager or even with voicemail, you would hit the pound sign. So the pound sign has evolved, and so now we're using it in Facebook and in Twitter and in Instagram, which are as hashtags. And basically, they mark keywords or topics in tweets. Like I said again, people use hashtags in Facebook now, which is most recently in Instagram. They're almost kind of like a research tool. So they're a single word or phrase beginning with the pound sign. There's no spaces or punctuation. So for example, if you want to do the hashtag mental health, which is what we'll be doing today, and hashtag I'm good, because that's our blogging campaign, which I also talk about. So for mental health, you would put pound sign mental health, all one word, all together. Okay, now for, like, again, I said you don't use punctuations when you're doing hashtags. So for example, our blogging campaign is called I'm good. Okay, so it's like I''M. But when we do the hashtag, we're going to leave out the apostrophe, so it's just the letter M, good, with the pound sign. Because if you use a punctuation, it'll actually break up the hashtag, and then it won't work. And so you've probably seen hashtags, in a variety of locations, including trending topics. And that's too, like I said, if you want to see if somebody's talking about, the next Spider-Man movie that's about to come out. So maybe, you can do a search for hashtag Spider-Man on Twitter and see what are people discussing as far as about the new Spider-Man movie. I like comic books, so that's why I use them as an example. And so just think of it like, again, like a following device on Twitter as far as when you're looking up stuff and looking up content. If you want to find out what people are saying about flowers, let's say there was a big accident, on a freeway in your community, then maybe there might be a hashtag that says, 580 interstate or something like that, and then you can look it up and see what people are discussing. So here's another example of a hashtag. So this was, we were covering alternatives in 2013. Check out last year's coverage. And so there were all these different hashtags that we used. So because what we did is that we want to use hashtags that people, when they're looking up certain words, that they'll come to us. And so we had Alt 2013, which was the hashtag for Alternatives 2013. You see hashtag mental health, hashtag mental illness, hashtag recovery. So if anybody are looking at or doing research on those different topics, then the peers tweet will come up. And so I know in the consumer movement, some of us don't like to use mental illness. The reason why I usually, if I'm tweeting on mental health, I also include mental illness, is because a lot of people, your general public outside the consumer movement, they may not say mental health. A lot of people say mental illness. And so my thing is that let me reel you in by maybe using the language that's common, and then school you on a different way of how we use language within the consumer movement. So that's why I have both mental health and mental illness, because I'm thinking about when I'm doing these hashtags, who am I reaching out to? So maybe saying mental health, maybe reaching out to people who are kind of already in the consumer movement or are using a different language or more empowering language to describe their, looking at mental health or their own struggles. And then mental illness, I use that because that's a term that the general population uses. And so I figure I can reel them in and they can learn more about what we do in the consumer movement. So just keep that in mind when you're doing hashtags. So another question I get is, why use Twitter? Why in the world, what's the point of using something that's like really short and you only are gonna communicate in only a few characters? But Twitter is very powerful. You can network online, connect with other orgs, which I've done that. I've had discussions with celebrities or different news organizations online. You can use it to spread a social message. I was just on Twitter right now. I was tweeting during this webinar, and I don't know if you heard about there's 234 Nigerian girls who were kidnapped from school. And so there's a Twitter hashtag that's really popular now saying bring back our girls, because it wasn't covered in the news and they've been missing for 2 weeks. And so now there's a movement online saying bring back our girls, because people want to bring attention to these Nigerian girls that were kidnapped. So, and it's growing. And so, and it probably will trend on Twitter. When something's trending on Twitter, you might have heard that too, that it's trending. That means that it's a topic that's being talked about by a majority of users, or by a large population of users. So you can use it to spread a social message. You can use it to even do that about mental health advocacy and about empowerment. You could publicize your business or your organization. You could publicize events or ones you're attending, or events that you're attending. I know a lot of times I've gone to conferences and people, they'll have hashtags and Twitter discussions to get people excited about the conference. That's something that alternatives can do. They can have a Twitter chat, which we'll talk about soon, about what's coming up, what to look forward to, and just giving information out about what to expect at the conference. You can use it to increase your visibility online for your business or for yourself. I know someone I interviewed, his name is Paul Brunson, and he is a matchmaker. And what he would do is he would look up hashtags on dating. And he would join conversations, because you do a lot of times with hashtags, sometimes there's conversations, and join Twitter chats or whatever about dating. And then he kind of would give dating advice, and then people were like, oh, they were interested in what he was saying, and he was like, well, why don't you go to my website so you can learn more. So long story short, eventually within a few years, his personality grew, his exposure grew, and he actually got a deal to have a show on the Oprah Winfrey Network, and he works with Oprah now. So that was from Twitter. That was from Twitter and him tweeting his YouTube videos, or publicizing his YouTube videos on Twitter while discussing dating with people. So it can be strategic and it can be beneficial. And again, you can communicate with your favorite celebrities, shows, thinkers, writers. For those of you who are blogging, if you're blogging on certain topics, so of course we'll just say mental health, tweet some of your local news anchors or news reporters, and tell them about yourself. Send them posts, so maybe they can get interested, if that's something you want, to interview you or to get your opinion about mental health, which could build your own visibility. So then maybe one day you could put on your blog that my name is Janae Darden, and I've been featured on ABC News, I've been featured on my local NPR station, etc., etc. And then too, it's cool to talk to celebrities, so which could be fun. So here's another example of how you can use Twitter as far as with discussion. So Huffington Post Live, this was about a couple years ago. Huffington Post Live had a show on comedian Cat Williams, who was acting real strangely and doing real weird things and acting violently publicly, and it was all in entertainment news. And when I was watching the Huffington Post Live, episode, they were kind of making fun of him, and I was watching and tweeting, and I jumped in a discussion and I said, hey, you're making fun of him, but what about him needing mental health care, because this looks like it's more serious. And so then Huffington Post, they agree with my argument. And so now what I'm trying to do now to even expand that connection that I made is to think, now let me see if this can turn into maybe me coming on Huffington Post Live to maybe talk about mental health, right? So that's just establishing that relationship there. So that's one example of something that you can do. And another way as far as spreading your message is because it's Twitter, because it's the internet, you know, we're not just limited to your state or your city or your area. People around the world can catch up on what you're doing. And so a blogger from Holland, he blogged about peers and he shared it with his he tweeted about it. So that means his network of people saw it, and then we were able to retweet, which retweet means that you're resharing it on your page so your followers can see it. And so our followers can see that, hey, you know, peers is not just known in the United States, that people even overseas know about us. Now, time for the Twitter chat. So what is a Twitter chat? So now that you kind of have an idea of ways to use Twitter, I actually like Twitter chats. At first I thought it was silly because I said, how can you have discussion on issues in 140 characters? But it is possible, and I've done it. So basically, some people call it Twitter parties, but mostly now you hear Twitter chats. And they're basically when people discuss the same topic and use a specific hashtag on Twitter. And you arrange it to, so if you're moderating it, the Twitter chat happens at a specific time, and the moderator sets the time, and they set the questions, and they set the hashtag. So for example, let's say, you know, I'm not great with sports as far as information on sports. Let's say I worked for Fox Sports, and I wanted to host a chat on the NBA playoffs. So I would, you know, send out tweets and Facebook and everything, our followers, and say, hey, we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs at 3 p.m. Eastern, right? Make sure you put the, you know, the area that you're in, you know, use Eastern Pacific time zone because it's the internet. So people all over the world, right, are following you. And so I'll say, okay, you know, we're going to have this Twitter chat. The hashtag is playoffs. And so basically that means that people, when they want to look up, you know, discussion on NBA playoffs, when they put in playoffs, our whole discussion will come up. And so during that Twitter chat, you know, we'll be talking about the NBA playoffs, people giving their opinions. And so you can organize chats to discuss all kind of things. You can do it to discuss hot topics. Again, like I said, I've gone to blogging conferences, and people, they use it to get people excited. You know, maybe like they'll say, oh, okay, if you wanna know who's going to be the keynote speaker, you know, join a Twitter chat at 3 o'clock, and they may say who the big celebrity keynote speaker is at a conference. And so people come because they want to know, right? They're excited. I've been on Twitter chats where different organizations or conferences I'm attending, they may have a contest, and that's how they lure people in. So they may have a Twitter chat where they ask questions, and if you get the question right, then you may, you know, or you're the first person to get the question right, you may win a prize. And that's something you can do for your own business or for your own organization. So just Twitter chats are really easy. It's basically just tweeting. Just remember, just join the discussion. If there's a comment that you like that someone makes, so you know, if somebody's like, hey, you know, mental health recovery is possible, it's real, you can say, hey, I dig that. You can retweet it. And so when you retweet it, that means your audience sees that you know, that you're retweeting a comment that someone's made. You can actually favorite it, which is that little star that you'll see when you're tweeting on a tweet. You can, you know, you hit that star to say, oh, this is a comment that's one of your favorites, and the person that made that comment can see it, and when you retweet it, that person can see it. And see, that's how you build.
Sorry about this. It looks like we have lost, Janae has lost connection. Would it be possible for...
Janae's going to come into our office. Give us 2 seconds. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Sorry about this technical difficulty. And Janae will continue in just a second when she gets into an office with a connection.
All right, we're back. Thanks, guys. So where did you guys have where I left off? Last thing you heard. Where's the last, was it Twitter chat, or you were starting the Twitter chat, NBA, after the NBA, the mail about East Coast? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So basically, with the Twitter chat, so you can establish. Wait, I gotta stop. Let's see that starting now.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties. That happens in media. Can people hear me now or no?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay, you can hear me now? Okay. So basically, so when you're setting Twitter chat, what you want to do is make sure that you use, you put the time zones because you're expecting people all over the world to follow you. Oops, let me go back. And you want to let people know in advance about the Twitter chat if you're the moderator or if you're the host. So you can promote the Twitter chat on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter in advance, and days in advance, just to let people know, about it. And so again, for example, I don't know if people heard this. So let's say you're doing a Twitter chat with, and if you work for Fox Sports, and you want to do a Twitter chat on the NBA playoffs. So what you would do is that maybe the hashtag would be playoffs, and so that way people can, when they look up playoffs, then they can be directed to your Twitter chat. And people organize Twitter chats for all kinds of things. I've participated in for conferences, again, to get people excited. I participated in for maybe like a conference they want to announce who maybe a big speaker is, or a big mainstream speaker that's going to be the keynote. And so we'll all go into Twitter chat to find out, to see who it is, and maybe discuss it and get people pumped up. I've done it too where different companies or different organizations are having contests and giving away prizes, which is another way to promote your business or your organization too as well. And when you join the discussion, you can retweet it. Make sure that you join the discussion, you retweet, and you favorite comments by others that you like, because that way that the people that you're favoriting or you're retweeting, they can see it, and that's a connection, and you may even get more followers because people are like, oh, okay, we have the same opinion, so I want to start following you. Just make sure when you're in the discussion, make sure you use a hashtag all the time, because if you make a really, really cool comment, and it might not get picked up if you're not using a hashtag because people may not see it. And so just make sure, too, as well, that you stay on topic. It's very frustrating when you're having a Twitter chat and people totally go off topic, so always stay on topic. I was doing a Twitter discussion on mental health because there was a blogger that took her life, and so I was doing a Twitter discussion on it, and actually my tweets actually picked up and printed in different news organizations. So just be mindful, too, of what you say on Twitter. Once it's out there, what's out there. That's for anything what you say on the Internet. Even if you have your settings set to private, whatever you say is still out there, still on the Internet. So just be mindful, because sometimes Twitter can get very heated when people are debating, especially specific issues. And you can, for ways to learn more about Twitter chat, which we'll have one later on today, you can go to how to participate in the tweet chat. There's a link there, and the Ultimate Guide to Hosting a Tweet from Forbes.com. Those are good resources so you can learn more about that. Okay. So here's an example of a Twitter chat. So you might have heard about, it was last in November, Make-A-Wish Foundation. They turned the city of San Francisco into Gotham City for a little boy who survived cancer, and he was called Bat Kid, and their marketing was amazing. And so they actually had someone pretending to be the Penguin to tweet and to get people excited, because he was one of the Batman villains that were going to be at Gotham City, which is in San Francisco. So as you can see, the Penguin and I are having an exchange. It's just fun, it's silly, and it's funny because it's all adults here, like acting like children. But but we're having an exchange, and you see, if you notice, all of us are using that, hashtag BatKid, 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 SF BatKid, so that when people go on, then they can look up BatKid and they'll see the discussion. And so if you notice, somebody must have looked at BatKid, because there's other people in here that joined the discussion when the Penguin and I were debating about who would win between him and BatKid. And there's a tweet at the bottom where I even tweeted, I put hashtag Joker, because I know that's a very popular character. And I was like, oh, let me just hashtag Joker, because that may get other people who want to join in the discussion and follow and see somebody else came in. So, and of course, BatKid won, because, the Penguin is easy to defeat. But anyway, so And here's another example of a Twitter chat. So Sophia Nelson is a writer. She has like 42,000 followers. And she actually wrote a book on Michelle Obama. And so she did a Twitter chat on mental health, and she talked about that we need to connect better. And so I did a tweet chat with her, and those two using the hashtags. And then I also, because we were talking about mental health, I was like, let me promote our Mental Health Awareness Month campaign, our blogging campaign called I'm Good. And so I threw that in there, you know, just to mention that to her because we were talking about mental health. I didn't show the tweet, but she saw my tweet and retweeted it to her followers. So she retweeted the web link to our blog campaign to 42,000 people. And someone else in the discussion saw the link to that I sent out, and she responded. And she actually contacted me a couple of days ago. I was like, I'm really excited about the campaign. So that's why I say, even in these, you know, these few characters, these few words, people do, you know, they get caught up, and it can be inspiring to people. It can be uplifting to people. I've had tweets about mental health that have gone viral. People have contacted me, so they feel very empowered. Okay, so I mentioned I'm Good, which is a blog campaign for mental health recovery, and it actually launches today. Today is our official first day of the I'm Good. People in our office are like, yay, because we've been working on this since like October. So it's like, woo. Anyway, so the blog campaign is called I'm Good, and the reason why we titled it I'm Good, and actually Kalechi Bozo, who you'll hear from later, she came up with the idea of the title, and we titled it that because we've noticed. You know, for different reasons, we've noticed that a lot of times mental health coverage in the media, it kind of can be depressing, or it can be, you know, focusing more on the negative and stigmatizing and making people with mental health challenges look like they're bad or they're inferior. And so we wanted something to say, hey, you know, we're not bad, we're not inferior, we're good. We're doing good things in the community. And maybe even if we're not what we want to be in our recovery, you know, I'm good because I'm on my way there. I'm good because I'm trying. I'm good because I have a support network. I'm good because I have peers. I'm good because my dog makes me feel good when I'm down. I'm good because I know when I'm stressed out, and if I run around the lake, I feel better. So that's kind of what we're getting at with I'm Good. And if you see in the picture, I've struggled, I'm growing, I'm good. And so if you notice in the picture, there's people of all different ethnicities, ages, gender, and that's because this is something that we want to reach out to everyone. And so you can go online and check out the website, and the website, the link is right there, and so you can go and look and see some of the posts that we have up so far. And also, too, today when we have the discussion, the Twitter chat, we're going to use the hashtag I'm Good. So just make sure today, after this webinar is over, that you go to Peers, Twitter page, which is @peersorg. That's our handle, or twitter.com/peersorg. Just go there, and then I'll be moderating. I'll be asking questions, and we can have discussions, and just make sure that you use the hashtags that I'm going to be using, which one of them will be I'm Good. And Instagram, briefly. So Instagram it's basically an online photo sharing, video sharing, social networking service that lets you take pictures and videos. You can do filters and all that good stuff. You can share it on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Flickr. Again, a lot of people who use Instagram are like teens and early 20s. I am not, but I love Instagram. It's a lot of fun, and especially now because you can record really, really short videos. But Instagram is most functional through a phone app. And so basically you just upload photos and videos to your mobile device. You can use it to post inspirational videos, art, you know, photos of your event, things that you're attending. And again, you can use hashtags. And I use it to promote all my stuff that I'm doing. And this is a project that we worked with Cal State East Bay here in the Bay Area. It's called the Better Life Project. And so they were trying to promote their event or their project, and you see, look at these really beautiful pictures that they use to inspire other people and inspire followers. And so these are examples of other really nice photos that you can use. Photos are really powerful. People pay attention to photos. For videos on Instagram, they can, you know, they're really short. You can only record for 15 seconds. Upload through your mobile device, and you can use it to share a message and give followers a, you know, quick idea of what you and your org are doing. Even for the I'm Good campaign, if you want, if you're not, you know, we're still looking for bloggers for the I'm Good campaign. We're taking blog posts throughout the whole month. So if that's something that you want to do, that'd be great. If not, you can also do a little quick video on Instagram and talk about how you're good. Or you can just, or for your organization, you can do a quick video on Instagram to show maybe an event that's going on. And I'm going to keep going because I know we are short on time, but that's a video I did when they had the Bat Kid ceremony in San Francisco. And so I'm going to hand it over to Sherman, and he's going to talk about YouTube.
Hello, hello. So let's talk about video. I know we've already talked a lot about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There's a lot of, ways to really promote your organization with all the other social medias. But video is a little bit particular in the sense that it really is a great medium to really just show, almost as good as face-to-face, what your organization really presents, your mission, and really just show kind of voice and a face to all the messages that you want to really convey. And it works really great. And I'm going to talk a little bit about YouTube because they're really geared towards nonprofits and organizations to help you promote everything that you need to promote. And I'll also talk a little bit about specific tips on how to get started, because video, it's so effective, but it also is one of the mediums that are a little bit more intimidating in that sense. But don't be scared. It's actually really fun, and it's a really, really great tool. So let's get started. Okay. So I'll just go over a little bit of statistics with YouTube. Users usually go to Google to find, as it says, readable content. They go to YouTube to find the video content for that. So maybe someone goes and hears a news article or reads something or hears something, and then they want to kind of rewatch maybe a CNN clip or your local news station, and to kind of just rewatch certain things. So for a lot of companies, it's a really good way to rebroadcast things that happen live, or shows that are shown on TV, but then reaches other people, because people are very busy and they kind of just don't have the time to really watch TV, or the fact that many people aren't even really watching TV anymore. So it's kind of funny also because YouTube is part of Google, and it's Google is so ubiquitous, everyone knows Google, but actually YouTube is the second largest search engine, right behind Google, since it is part of Google. More than 1 billion users use YouTube every month, and that's 100 hours of video upload every minute. So as I've already talked a couple minutes, that's a few hundred right there that just of hours just uploaded right now. Amazing. So in the nonprofit and organization sense, they have about 4 billion plus views on YouTube, and so that's about 17,000 plus nonprofits on YouTube. And that's a significant chunk. So that's an audience that you can really capture and are really promoting the same things and really using this medium to show their message and also to promote everything that they have. And it really is a great way to just get audiences, and also audiences outside of maybe the realm of the mission that you're working with. I know definitely here at Peers for mental health, we really want to try to use these tools, these media tools, to kind of branch outside of just the people that are very active and very proactive in mental health, and really just touch the normal audience, because that statistic that 1 in 4 people will encounter, maybe it's a family member or personally someone with mental health issues, that's a lot of people, and a lot of people don't really know about this. And so we really want to use YouTube and all the other social medias to really just kind of capture and touch and reach all audiences. So the last bullet point says the Nielsen ratings, which is something that gauges ratings for television a while back. It says that YouTube reaches more U.S. adults ages 18 to 34 than any cable network. So that's just another sign that people are watching less and less TV, and especially kids these days, they're not really engaged in TV like we used to be. They're really using YouTube, they're using Instagram, they're using all sorts of other forms of media to really get their own entertainment content. So especially for all the other organizations that engages with that demographic of young adults, this is a great way to really just go and talk to them and really speak their language and meet them where they're most active. So this is a little icon design. Is basically is meant to translate to content is king, because as we spoke before, you got to have really good content. You have to just really sell that in a sense to just gauge and to capture audiences. So much like the other social medias, you want to update content on a regular basis, maybe a little bit less since it's video. Um, you want to really use YouTube as like a holistic video strategy along with all your other social medias. It's not maybe just a standalone, but you can really cross-platform and show the links to Facebook or Twitter and such. And make sure you're telling real stories of real people. So maybe if you have a staff member, a donor, or a volunteer, really just try to see maybe a project that you worked on, and you say, because most of the people that I work with share the most engaging stories, and you can really just use even your iPhone and just capture that story and then just put it up on YouTube, and that's a really great way to show the work that you're doing, and also to promote your message. And the last bullet point just goes to show that it all plays in part of your branding and your marketing strategy. So if content is king, then distribution is your queen. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to really go through this. Is the heart of it. This is really what I want to get at. YouTube actually saw the need. Google saw the need to really branch out and foster a program for nonprofits. So a lot of people don't know this, that there is a specific entity within YouTube that gives you certain functions and certain kind of things that help you market your YouTube account specifically for nonprofits. So the eligibility for YouTube nonprofits is that you currently have to hold a 501c3 status, and some organizations are not eligible for YouTube nonprofit program. You can find the link there to see if you do qualify. Mostly, I think government agencies and educational agencies and some medical agencies cannot partake in YouTube nonprofit. So I'll just go over a little bit of things that you can get with the YouTube nonprofit. So basically, these are all the great ways that you can really use YouTube nonprofits that are offered also for certain YouTube channels that are Prime members, let's say. And to be like a Prime member, you have to have something of like, I don't know, maybe 100,000 viewers or hits, and also a certain amount of subscriptions, which is very hard for nonprofits. So this is very good that YouTube and Google saw the need to, hey, give the same opportunities for nonprofits to, help them to send their message out. So on the left, you'll see a checkout button, and basically that shows how, a certain button and a function that you can donate directly from your YouTube page. And you can donate money, and then on the bottom is call to action overlays. So basically it's a pop-up that just shows maybe your web address, or hey, check out this one fundraiser that we're really doing right now. And it just comes up for a second and then comes away. So it just gives another way to kind of send a little message during the video. There's also the community forum, so it's another way to engage with your audience, ask questions, and start dialogue. To your right, there's a live streaming function, and it's really cool because here at Peers, we went to the Alternatives Conference just last year, and it was the first year that we actually implemented live streaming. So for many people that couldn't go to Alternatives, maybe some of our staff or people around the country, they were able to come directly to our YouTube page and just watch everything that was being live streamed at the moment. So it's a really good way to just show audiences and be engaged, virtually also. And then there's another thing underneath live stream. It's called video annotations, and that's kind of like the call to action overlays, where it just kind of pops out and it says, "Hey, subscribe to our page," or maybe donate to our fundraiser here, or check out our website. Another way to just kind of remind the audience during the video. So, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip through a bunch of these, but this is basically a page from PETA that really does an excellent job of highlighting every point of the YouTube nonprofit. They have the donate button here. They have a video with Jon Stewart right in the front to really engage audiences, and then they have and then during that video they'll have call to action overlays and pop-ups and such. So I'll just skip through this for the sake of time. So where to start? So you've heard about YouTube nonprofit, you've heard about how you can use it for your organization, but there's also this fact that it's very intimidating to, hey, I don't know how to start a video, or we don't have a video camera, or maybe a lot of organizations, they're working with less means, so video equipment does cost a lot. But I will state that with most people have smartphones, and with your iPhone, your Android, you can do everything the same. You can do all the same things that you can with a video or with a video camera. It just takes a little bit of learning and a little bit of a little bit of tricks here and there. So I'll talk a little bit more about how to start a video. But when you first start, this is going to be your page when you sign up for YouTube, and it's going to be empty. So from there, you can start with right here. This is much like Facebook. Put a profile photo, maybe your organization's logo, and then right behind it, there's a banner where you can put kind of a bigger photo, maybe of your organization's location, or a good photo that really translates what your message is. So I want to talk a little bit more about how to start shooting video, and especially with your smartphone. This was actually a video presented by journalists of the BBC, and they really show you how you can really do interviews with your iPhone, how you can post it straight to YouTube, how you can edit that content from like the start to finish. So maybe if you made a mistake in the beginning or the end, you can really just cut those ends out, and then really use your headphones, your earbuds that comes along with your Android or your iPhone, and use that as an actual microphone, and to get better audio, because that's also a big issue is having good audio with your interviews. And it's really self-explanatory. They present it really well. Unfortunately, we can't really watch it because of the PDF doesn't allow videos to be shown. But I'll show you the link later, and you can watch it. It's about 2 or 3 minutes, and it's really excellent. I highly suggest that any of you that are interested in starting videos and starting YouTube nonprofit, really take a look at that. It tells you everything you need to know. So here's the links that I want to tell you a little bit about. So like I said before, that smartphone journalism video from the BBC, it's located right here. And then underneath, there's other short videos that tell you a little bit more in depth about how to get better shots, how to make your iPhone a little bit more steady, better audio, and they're really, really great videos. So I suggest you take a look at these links here, and really just start getting interested in video, and just throw yourself in. That's a lot of it is really just trial and error, and just having fun and seeing what works, and really just getting a great story on video. And with everything YouTube and YouTube nonprofit, this is basically your handbook, everything you need to know. YouTube playbook, here's a link down here, and eligibility, or maybe all the things that you get along with the services. I kind of went really quick through it because of time, but you can really go in depth about how you can use each of those, donate button, call to action, community forums, and really use that as a means, a total means with all your other social media platforms. And then if you really, you start getting really interested and you want to do a little bit more, here's a couple of apps for your smartphone that can really render your videos and your audio much better. I really like to geek out a lot with my iPhone and really use it in creative ways. So there's this one app called Filmic Pro. So it makes gives you a little bit more controls when you're shooting with exposure and focus and everything. And then there's iMovie, which is basically like iMovie on your Mac, but it's an app that gives you more editing functions, and you can also like put in songs and music underneath your video. So here's some action steps basically. Create your YouTube channel, apply for YouTube nonprofit program. And then just start to think about how you can use it with all your other social media campaigns, and then jump in and have fun. It's a really, really great thing, and you'll be surprised how much fun you'll have.
All right.
Okay,
all
so
right, everyone. Go ahead. Sorry, Sherman, you were quiet for a second.
I'll just hand it over to Kalechi, and she'll talk a little bit more about messages and things to consider. So go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Sherman. So I know in the interest of time, I'm going to go through this pretty briefly because I do want to make sure that we have time for question and answers and to get to our Twitter. But this is just highlighting some things that we've already discussed. But really, I just want to focus on messaging, because with all of the social media, which is great, you need to make sure that your messaging is consistent. So some things to consider, again, what is your message? Whether it's social justice or about equality or possibly just that recovery is possible, make sure that it's short and sweet and inclusive across your social media. So this means these are some best practices, but brevity is beautiful. People have a very short attention span, especially on social media. So really, really long posts on Facebook or Twitter or things that are extremely long, you might lose your audience. So just make sure that you're brief and to the point. And also make sure you create a clear and inclusive message across all of your social media and your website. One thing I talk about is being fluid with language and ready to switch depending on your audience. So make sure that if you are reaching, for example, you're trying to reach the general public, like Janae said, and even though if you don't like using mental illness, most of the general public will use that to look up information about mental health. So you can use that as a time for transformative language later, but general public doesn't know what a consumer is or lived experience. So try to stay away from this when you're in social media and you're targeting the general public. If you're talking to another mental health organization, it's no problem. But when you're trying to go into the community, it makes it harder to connect. Another message is share authentic mental health stories. Like Sherman was saying about YouTube, that's a place that you could share stories of recovery, but don't forget the recovery message. A lot of people have an on the way down message and talk about all of the things that went wrong, and sometimes forget to talk about the things that went right and how they're overcoming and struggling but still good. So don't forget to have that part in your message. What does Google say? So I've definitely met a lot of nonprofits who don't have websites, don't have social media, and I know this is a 2.0 situation, so we're hopeful that you do have a website, but Google yourself. I would suggest that everyone, at the end of the day, after going on all of the various social media that we've talked about, make sure you Google yourself and see what's talked about, which brings me to updating. So if you find yourself, you Google yourself and you see like a newsletter from 2009 is your quickest update, then it's time to update your website, to start a Facebook, update your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and your YouTube pages. Make sure you always update them. And also find catchy slogans. For example, we used love more, judge less as one of our slogans, and it's extremely inclusive. People in the community loved it. We didn't talk about mental health until we got face-to-face, but when I was out in the community, this is something we put on T-shirts, and people were interested in it because it's an inclusive message, that everyone can connect with. So that's one thing I would say that you could use across social media is some of these more inclusive messages. I know that Oprah is using a Just Smile campaign. So she's saying, like, or no, actually, it's just say hello. So it's really simple. It's to combat loneliness, which is also known as depression for some people. But loneliness seems to connect and doesn't have so much stigma attached to it. But that's something you can use to get a different conversation going. All right. So Shannon talked about social media is not to replace outreach. Outreach is huge. Face-to-face is big. But you can use social media and outreach in tandem. And it's a beautiful marriage. So, for example, if you're attending community events, go to art festivals, film festivals, walks. There's so many things that are out in the community, and you should be there. A lot of us stay in mental health and preach to the choir, and I know the National Empowerment Center knows about stigma. But does the Oakland Film Festival know about mental health stigma? Maybe not. So those are some new places that I would go and share these messages. And you can also connect with other mental health campaigns. So Each of My Matters has a green ribbon campaign, and Peers, we've been using this green ribbon, and basically the green ribbon is a symbol of mental health. So it can be kind of like, you're wearing your green ribbon out in the community, and someone will ask, what is that? And you can have like an elevator pitch about, 1 in 4 people suffer from mental health challenges. We're just trying to talk about awareness, and then from there you can go into talking about your organization, direct people to your website, your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter, but that's the way face-to-face is still really important. And also, when you are on Facebook, make sure you are connecting with other organizations. You can like their articles, their pages. That's another way you can connect with them. So one thing that's really helpful at Alternatives, we were live tweeting at a lot of events, and we invited the community to live tweet with us. And this is how we connected with a lot of other organizations. Because when you are at events, you can still use social media, and it's really fun. And I think lastly on this, I would say have written materials with your social media information included. So always have a way. I know we love flyers at our organization, but you always need to make sure if you do have a flyer, make sure you are directing people to your social media, because that's a way that they can further connect with you. Okay, and lastly, wow, I said that really quickly, but lastly I would say think about targeted outreach. So for example, we have this wonderful film, Shine, that was produced by Peers. Actually, Shannon Elliott produced it, and it's incredible, and it's one of these films that can connect with anyone. So when I go to youth groups, or I go to other organizations that focus on youth or trauma or people of color, I can target this documentary and I can say, hey, there's a message in here for you. And just remember, like, where you're going, make sure your language matches. Make sure what you're giving them matches what what they need. So I'm not going to go to youth with and give them like information for older adults. I'm going to have something that connects to them personally. So just something to remember when you're out in the community, that you should think about who you're trying to target, who your audience is, and what kind of information they would need. So I think that is pretty much my end. I'm going to hand it over to Shannon so we can wrap up.
Awesome. Thank you all so much, and thank you, Kelechi. So we actually kind of covered this naturally, integrated into our presentation, but just how we use these tools. So as Kelechi mentioned, we did live tweeting, live coverage of alternatives. As Sherman mentioned, this was the first year we did streaming. So if you want to check out some of what we did, feel free to go to our website at peersnet.org. We'll be doing it again for our 4th year next year. I believe Alternatives is in Orlando. That's the rumor I've heard. So we'll be there doing the same thing. And as I mentioned, this is our talk show, Mental Health Matters. Everything can be seen on our website. Stories of recovery, really great 10-minute or under segments of personal stories of recovery from everyone in the community, all ethnicities, ages, genders, what have you. And Janae's show, Mental Health and Wellness Radio, which is a great public radio-style podcast. It's definitely worth checking out. So with that, thank you so much. We could get on to the fun stuff now with live tweeting and Q&A, but here's all our information, both for our Peers Media properties and our personal emails at our work office. So feel free to reach out with more questions if you need support. That's why we're here, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you, everybody from Peers. That was fabulous. So we have some questions. Some of the questions we have answered. So if you check your chat function, you can see those answers. Okay, so here's a question. First question is really for Sherman. Sherman says, post constantly. Which is most important to do? Regularly, daily, hourly? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, post the same thing in all places? So, Sherman?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, with YouTube, posting might be a little bit less because, or less frequent rather, because it takes a lot more time to make a video than to just type a comment or put up a picture. It really depends on how, I mean, ideally it would be great to post, maybe on a monthly basis, like we do here for certain series and stuff, web series like Stories of Recovery, and also for Mental Health Matters. But if you're doing it every once in a while, maybe based on a story or based on a project per se, it really depends how often you do that, and then you can really use that link to on your Facebook page or your Twitter page. Twitter is really kind of, you got to feed the audience really, really quick, and that's and Facebook to a lesser degree. But YouTube is nice because you can repost maybe the same video on a certain time, or you can really leave YouTube with videos and just kind of speak for themselves when people visit you on YouTube. I think for the most part, websites and Facebook and even Twitter are how audiences are really going to be, maybe your first appearance are really going to be presented. Whereas when you have YouTube, it's just one more thing where it's like, hey, I want to see how, everything that they're saying on Facebook or Twitter or on the website, translate in a video form. So I would definitely say less for YouTube because everyone gets really busy too, and it takes a lot of time. And we're really lucky here at Peers because I get the opportunity to really work specifically with video, and that's my one of my main roles here. But a lot of people, they're juggling, doing video and doing Facebook and doing Twitter and every other project. So I would say more important is probably Twitter and Facebook, and then you can always just cross-platform everything, because there's a function where on YouTube, where on your YouTube page, where you can have the icons that say check us out on Facebook, check us out on Twitter. So you can really have maybe one or two that speaks volumes of your organization. And I would say, keep it simple, keep it concise, and then let Facebook or Twitter kind of speak more. And then when you do have the chance with more videos, post them up on YouTube.
To piggyback on that, I would say do Facebook definitely daily, Twitter at least once a day, if not multiple times per day, because Twitter is much more live and more conversational. So but I would say no less than once a day for both Facebook and Twitter.
Great, thank you. And yes, I think yes to posting the same thing on multiple social media so that people see it. And how about one more question, and then you can ask more questions on the Twitter chat as well. But we have one more question, which is, can we convert our current YouTube page into the nonprofit page, or do we have to start over? I actually have that question too.
Oh. It's funny you say that, Alex. I just sent a reply to that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but just to reiterate, that's great that you already have a YouTube page. You're already, one step ahead, and it doesn't affect anything. You apply, and once you get accepted, you just get all the functions for the YouTube nonprofit page. We did the same thing. We had a YouTube page, and then I found out, hey, there's this really great program, and how do we get started? And I applied, and then you'll get an email from people at YouTube. They say, hey, you're accepted to our nonprofit page. Check it out. Check out all the things that you have. And they're really, really welcoming with that. So no worries about having to transfer over things or start a new page. You're all good. Just apply. And definitely if you have any more questions read on the link that I said that I showed before for the YouTube nonprofits handbook or playbook rather.
Okay, great. Well, I really would like to thank all our presenters. I know I learned a lot from your presentation, and I'm sure everybody else did, so thank you so much. And now we're going to move this conversation over to Twitter. So if you go to twitter.com/peersorg, you can follow the conversation and get involved with the conversation, and we'll be doing that for about 15 minutes or so, or until the peers folks decide to end it. Also, just want to remind you that this has been recorded, and all of the slides and the links, the great links that were included, will be available on our website very soon. So you'll have access to that. So again, thank you very much, and I'll see you over on Twitter.
Thank you guys so much.